Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here, got another Master Duel video for you. Today, we're going to be talking about Orcust. I'm going to show you how to combo with the new Orcust support. The main focus of this video will be Mitsurugi Orcust, as that is the build that I plan on using. However, I did also want to show you a pure combo line as well. So this first combo line is going to be starting with just Girsu, and it'll be a pure combo line. You're going to want to start by normal summoning Girsu and activating the effect. And we're going to want to send the Harp Horror from the deck to the graveyard. Alright, now we can activate Girsu's other effect because we control no other monsters. And we can special summon a token to each side of the field. Okay, now at this point we are going to take our Girsu and link it into Galatea I, the Orcust automaton. We can activate Galatea I's one effect, sending any card from our hand to the graveyard. And then we're going to add World Legacy World Crown from our deck to our hand. At this point, we can go ahead and activate the effect of World Crown, which will special summon it to the zone that Galatea I is pointing to. Alright, at this point, we can take our Galatea I as well as our World Legacy World Crown. Yeah, sorry, just making sure I have this line right. And then we're going to go into Link 2 Galatea. Okay, at this point, we're going to activate the graveyard effect of Galatea I, actually. We're going to use that to banish our Girsu from the graveyard, and then that'll allow us to bring the Galatea I back to our field. Alright, at this point, we can go ahead and make Lib the World Keymaster, not her, right here. Lib the World Keyblade Master. We're going to make that with the World Legacy token as well as Galatea I. Okay, at this point we can activate our Lib's ability, and this will allow us to set World Legacy Succession directly from our deck. We're going to use that as an extender later. We can also activate the... Oh, sorry, we're going to do that actually in 1 second. Yeah, so at this point we can just go ahead and make Appaloosa. And we're going to make that with the Lib as well as the Galatea. Okay, now at this point we can activate the second effect of Lib the World Keyblade Master. And this is how we're going to get rid of the World Legacy token that we put onto our opponent's side of the field, ensuring that we are not giving them any free advantage there. Now we're going to activate World Legacy Succession, and we're actually going to bring back the Link 2 Galatea, and we're going to summon it to one of the zones that Appaloosa is pointing to. Alright, from here we can activate our Harp Horror's Graveyard effect. We want to make sure that we summon Appaloosa, by the way, before we activate the Harp Horror Graveyard effect, because if we do, then we are going to be locked into dark for the rest of the turn. So that's why we did that in what seemed like kind of a weird order. It was to make sure that, again, we were going to be able to get the Appaloosa out, but... now we can summon Orcust Nightmare from our deck. Alright, and then now we can activate the Galatea 2 effect, and we're going to shuffle the Harp Horror that's banished back into our deck. And that will allow us to set the Orchestrated Babble from our deck, which of course turns all of our cards into quick effects there. So we can activate Orchestrated Babble. Now we're going to make the Long Girsu using Galatea as 2 materials, as well as the Orcust Nightmare. Okay, now we can go for the Orcust Nightmare effect. We're going to use that to... we can buff the Appaloosa, that's fine. But more importantly, we are going to put Orcust Symbol Skeleton from our deck into our graveyard. Okay, now at this point we can activate the graveyard effect of Symbol Skeleton. And that will allow us to bring back Galatea once again. Make sure not to activate this Long Girsu effect, by the way. That's just going to get rid of your Appaloosa. It'll ask you to do that because, again, Babble's being... allow it to be treated as a quick effect. But, alright, at this point, we're going to want to cycle our Girsu. We still haven't made that yet. So we're going to overlay Girsu on top of Galatea. And then now we can activate the effect of Girsu, and we can attach our banished Orcust Nightmare, this one here, directly to the Ding. And finally, we can go ahead and link off our Long Girsu plus our Girsu. into N El Girsu. And we could even go ahead and add back that banished symbol skeleton. Even if our opponent doesn't have a card to take control, we can just get that right back to our hand. There's no reason not to. Alright, so there you go. That's going to be your end board. Now, it doesn't look like a lot, right? But if you go into your opponent's turn, then keep in mind, because of the Orcust Babble, all of our Orcust effects are going to be quick effects. So more than just the Enlil Girsu effect to take control of an opponent's face-up monster, that's also going to include our graveyard effects as well. So you could, for example, go Galatea I to banish Galatea, and special summon. And the on-field effect is also going to be a quick effect, so we can send the symbol skeleton. And with that, we could add back the World Legacy World Crown, or you could also add World Wand to your hand if you wanted to. Or what we could do is we could simply activate the Orcust Nightmare that's in our graveyard. And then we can not only send the World Wand this way, but it'll actually buff our Appaloosa by 800 points, giving it yet another negate. Furthermore, we can activate World Wand's effect, and that will actually allow us to special summon that World Crown that we just added back to our hand. So now, your end board has 3 instead of just 2 Appaloosa negates. It's got the Enlil Girsu take control, and World Legacy World Crown can also tribute itself to negate the activation of a monster effect that was special summoned from the extra deck and destroy it. And of course, that's on top of whatever else you have in your hand. Oh, and by the way, speaking of disruption, you can also, as a quick effect, use Symbol Skeleton to revive Din Girsu, and you can send any card your opponent controls to the graveyard once you do. So that's what the pure build can get you. Even without Mitsurugi, it still offers quite a bit. But there's even more you can do with the Mitsurugi as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Alright, so now that I've shown you what Girsu can do when you open it in a pure Orcust deck, let me show you what it can do in Mitsurugi Orcust. This is actually going to be quite a different combo line. And of course, as always, we're going to pretend that we only opened Girsu and no other relevant cards, so we will not be using this Mitsurugi prayers that we opened. We are going to begin by normal summoning Girsu the Orcust Mech Knight. We're of course going to activate the effect to send Harp Horror from our deck to the graveyard. And since we control no other monsters, we can activate Girsu's other effect to summon a token to each side of the field. Alright, now we're going to want to take our token this time. For the last combo line, we linked off Girsu, but this time we're going to take our World Legacy token and we're going to turn that into Galatea I. We can activate the Galatea I effect, sending a random card from our hand to the graveyard. Well, not random, of course, our choice, but you know what I mean. And we're going to add Orchestrated Babble. Again, in the pure line, we added World Crown, but this time we're actually going to add Orchestrated Babble. We can go ahead and activate that just to have it set up on the field. Of course, that'll turn all of our Orcust effects into quick effects. Alright, now at this point, let's go ahead and activate the effect of the Harp Horror that's in our graveyard. And we're going to special summon Orcust Nightmare from our deck. Alright, now I'm going to link summon Link to Galatea using Galatea I, as well as that Orcust Nightmare that we just summoned. Don't activate Galatea's effect just yet. First, you actually want to banish Orcust Nightmare from your graveyard. It doesn't really matter what we have gain attack here. And then we're going to want to send the World Legacy World Wand from our deck to the graveyard. Alright, now we can activate Galatea Link 2's effect. We're going to put back Orcust Nightmare specifically. Don't put back Harp Horror, we're going to summon that in just a second. And we can set a card. Yes, we're going to set Orcust Crescendo, the Counter Trap Omni Negate directly from our deck. Alright, now at this point we can activate the graveyard effect of World Legacy World Wand. And we're going to use that to bring back the Harp Horror that we have banished. Now from here we have 2 level 4 monsters, so we can overlay them into King of the Feral Imps. Not only, of course, setting up our Mitsurugi engine, but it's a nice way to cycle the Harp Horror back into the graveyard, which will detach from the King in order to add the Ame no Habakiri no Mitsurugi. We're going to add this one directly from the deck to the hand. We can reveal Habakiri from our hand. This will allow us to special summon and then tribute the Saji directly from our deck. We'll still trigger the Saji effect. And we're going to want to add the Mitsurugi Ritual from deck to hand. At this point, let's go ahead and activate Mitsurugi Ritual. We're going to want to start by summoning a Reptile Ritual monster from our hand, tributing stuff from our hand, deck, or field. So we're going to summon from our hand the Habakiri, and we'll send from our deck the Kusanagi, as well as the Aramasa. No Night Sword Serpent, because we Dark Locked ourselves, and that is a water monster. So here's the Habakiri. This, of course, triggers the graveyard effects of both Kusanagi, which will add back the Mitsurugi Ritual, as well as the Aramasa. This search is going to be extra, so as long as you don't grab Murakumo, we can just grab an extra Habakiri. Yeah, because we're going to summon Murakumo from deck here in a second, so we'll grab an extra Habakiri. Kusanagi adds back the Ritual. Alright, at this point, let's go ahead and activate the Mitsurugi Ritual. We'll do the first effect here. We're going to summon the Murakumo from our deck, and we're going to tribute the on-field Habakiri. Make sure you're tributing the one that is on the field specifically. Alright, this will trigger both effects actually. We can not only use Habakiri to summon itself back and add a card, but we can also activate Murakumo to destroy the token that we gave to our opponent. And of course, that'll make sure that they can't use it for anything. We can add a copy of Mitsurugi Prayers, and of course we're going to special summon the Habakiri back from the graveyard. Now let's activate Mitsurugi Prayers. We are going to tribute a monster, yes. We're going to tribute the Murakumo that we summoned. Now we're going to activate both effects, which is going to be option number 3. This will add the Habakiri from deck to hand. Not that we need it, but it'll also revive an extra body from our graveyard. Doesn't really matter which one, just don't revive Murakumo because that's going to revive itself. Which we'll do right now. And that'll let us add another Prayers from deck to hand, and of course we'll special summon the Murakumo to our field. Alright, we do still need to make Dean Girsu, so let's do that with Galatea. And then we can activate the effect of Dean Girsu and attach the Banished World Wand. Alright, from here it's a pretty simple matter of link climbing. We can actually go straight into Long Girsu with King of the Feral Imps, Dean Girsu, and we can just use Habakiri. Alright, we're not done climbing just yet. That Galatea Eye that's in our graveyard, we're going to activate that. Let's go ahead and banish Girsu, because we don't really care if that's in the graveyard or not. And we're going to bring back Galatea Eye. Now we're going to make the Enlil Girsu, rather, using Long Girsu plus Galatea Eye. And we're actually not done yet. We're going to finish off by making IP, and we are going to use Murakumo as well as our leftover Saji here. Alright, set the Mitsurugi Prayers you search, and that's your end board. Now this looks weird, especially linking off the Murakumo to make the IP, but let's go over to our opponent's turn, and I'll show you why this is all completely fine. So, at any point during your opponent's turn, you can, of course, use the Enlil Girsu to take control of one of their monsters. We can use the Torpor that's in our graveyard to summon a Girsu from our deck. Now, the Girsu that's summoned from our deck, this is how you get Symbol Skeleton in the graveyard. Here, I opened and discarded it, but if you didn't open and discard it, you would send it right now. Now, with the Symbol Skeleton in the graveyard, we can bring back the Dean Girsu, and that'll let us send any card from our opponent's field to the graveyard. Now, not only do you have this send, but remember that we also set Mitsurugi Prayers. We can use Prayer's second effect in order to revive the Murakumo when our opponent has monsters on the field, and that'll destroy all of their monsters. And as if all of that wasn't good enough, then you can also activate IP Masquerena. And this will allow you to go into SP Little Knight, or if you didn't Dark Lock yourself with the Heart Pourer earlier, you could also make a 4 material Appaloosa here as well. So either way, you have a ton of options, and you could also simply revive the Murakumo and have another body and use that to go into Appaloosa as well. So yeah, tons of options when you add Mitsurugi to the end board. Don't forget that Murakumo also has its own negate/discard effect that we have thrown in there, as well as the Orcust Crescendo, which is a counter trap omni-negate. And you're probably starting to see why this deck is a force to be reckoned with. But of course, like any good meta deck, it's not just the Orcust that plays into the Mitsurugi. The Mitsurugi will also set up the Orcust stuff. I'll show you how. Alright, so here's how to pivot from Mitsurugi into full Mitsurugi and Orcust combo line. Definitely make sure to pay attention to this combo. This is a Master Duel exclusive line, most notably because it uses Nightmare Mermaid, which is not legal in the TCG or OCG. In either of those formats, if you want to go from Mitsurugi into Orcust, you have to make a zombie vampire and gamble, hope you mill Orcust cards, but thanks to Nightmare Mermaid, we can actually guaranteed hit Orcust every time off of Mitsurugi. We're going to start by activating Habakiri to special summon, and then tribute Saji. So of course trigger the Saji effect. We're going to want to add the Mitsurugi Ritual from our deck to our hand. Let's activate Mitsurugi Ritual, and we're going to want to summon a Reptile Ritual monster from our hand. We're going to summon the Habakiri from our hand, and we're going to use Kusanagi, as well as Aramasa in our deck. Remember, we don't play Night Sword Serpent because this deck Dark Locks itself, and Night Sword Serpent is water. Alright, there's the Habakiri. Now we can activate both effects of Kusanagi as well as Aramasa. Going to want to definitely, of course, add back the Mitsurugi Ritual off the Kusanagi. Very, very important. And when it comes to the Aramasa search, doesn't really matter. Just don't get Murakumo, because of course we're going to summon that from deck. We're just going to grab an extra Habakiri instead. But the Habakiri that's what doesn't matter, because we're not going to summon it. Anyway, we're going to activate the Mitsurugi Ritual here. This time we're going to summon from deck our Murakumo. Using the on-field Habakiri. Make sure you're using the one that is on the field and not the one in your hand. And of course, this will trigger the Habakiri effect. We can add a Mitsurugi Pairs from deck to hand. And we can special summon the Habakiri back to our field. Now let's go ahead and activate Prayers. And I will tribute a monster. Yes, we're going to tribute the Murakumo that's on our field. We'll do both effects. We'll add our last Habakiri from deck to hand. And we will special summon a monster to our field. It doesn't really matter which one. I'll just grab Saji. Now the Murakumo effect will activate here. We can add another Prayers from deck to hand. And revive it back to the field. Now again, normally if you were playing in the TCG, for example, you'd have to overlay into Zombie Vampire with these two and hope that you mill Orcust cards. However, again, because we're playing Master Duel and Nightmare Mermaid is legal, we're going to take our Habakiri as well as our Saji, and we're going to turn those into Nightmare Phoenix. Now we can take our Nightmare Phoenix, which is of course a Nightmare monster, and we'll turn that into Nightmare Mermaid. On summon, Nightmare Mermaid effect will activate. We can discard one of those extra Habakiris that we added in order to special summon Orcust Nightmare from our deck. At this point, we can link off the Orcust Nightmare for Galatea Eye. we can activate the on-field effect of Galatea Eye, discarding our other extra Habakiri that we added, and we'll add Orchestrated Babble from our deck to our hand, which we can subsequently just go ahead and activate. Alright, from here we can make Link to Galatea using Galatea Eye and Nightmare Mermaid. And let's go ahead and start setting up our banish pile. We're going to banish our Orcust Nightmare. Doesn't really matter what we have gain attack here. And we're going to send Heart Horror from the deck to the graveyard. Yeah, we can put back Orcust Nightmare. It's usually a good target to put back because it is a one-of. We can put that back with the Galatea effect. And this will, of course, set up our Counter Trap Omni Negate. But, of course, we're definitely going to keep going from there. Let's activate the Heart Horror effect. And this will let us special summon Girsu from our deck. Girsu on summon lets us send an Orcust from deck to graveyard. We can just go ahead and send the World Wand, because we've cycled through pretty much everything else, and Symbol Skeleton, of course, we can dump during our opponent's turn. We could even activate the effect of World Wand, bringing back that Heart Horror. Alright, at this point, let's go ahead and make Long Girsu with the Galatea and that Heart Horror we revived. While I'm thinking about it, let's go ahead and revive the Galatea Eye. Oh shoot, you know what? I should have linked off Girsu, actually. It's a little bit of a misplay on my part. But it's not the end of the world. We can just Spanish link to Galatea. And then now we can make Enlil Girsu with Long Girsu, as well as Galatea Eye. And just like the last combo line, right at the end here, we're going to make IP Masquerena using our Murakumo and our last leftover monster. Which, again, might look a little bit weird, but we can always revive Murakumo with the Mitsurugi prayers that we searched up. And there you go! Exact same end board, with the Habakiri as your starter instead of the Girsu. So yeah, now that I've shown off all the ways to combo, well, not all the ways, we do of course have prayers. You can use that to search Habakiri as a starter as well as Heart Horror can also work as a starter by linking into Galatea Eye and then banishing to summon the Girsu from the deck. Just know that you won't be able to get the token, so you'll have one less body. And in that case, you'll end on Enlil Girsu as well as Murakumo instead of the IP, because you won't have an extra body. But yeah, let me go ahead and show you my build here to give you an idea of what I'm working with and what we're comboing with here before we finish off. Okay, so here is my day one Mitsurugi Orcust build. This is the build that I comboed with in the video. Except for of course, the first combo line, which was a pure build. The pure build is mostly the same. I'll actually go ahead and just show you that real quick here. Of course, it just doesn't have Mitsurugi cards. It has more copies of Symbol Skeleton, as well as the Foolish Goods Dump Crescendo to kind of help compensate for the lack of starters there. But for me, I think that Mitsurugi Orcust is going to be the better build. And this is the main build that I'm going to be taking to ranked ladders. So look out in the near future for a deck primer with Mitsurugi Orcust. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this deck. I think it's going to be really strong and really cool, as well as good. So yeah, that'll do it for now. Thank you for watching. But for the time being, let's go ahead and move on to our outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.